All right, so this is our first stream with the sports podcast. Me and Brett just, we like sports. Obviously, I play football, um, and don't always get to talk about it, but talk about sports all the time. And it's also a good way to, get with your friends and talk with your friends and stuff. So, yeah. I'm Cale Miller. Obviously, I play football at a Division II school. So yeah, excited about this. Let's go. Brett, you want to introduce
And
yourself?
I'm Brett Violett. I played high school sports. Um, and I mean, I work at a gym, so I'm like around basketball all the time.
Right.
So
He's kind of the
it's
NBA
like,
kind of the NBA guy for sure. So
yeah. I mean, it's all I watch.
right. Um. So you just want to get right into it?
Yeah, let's go.
All right. So our first topic is gonna be the Super Bowl talk. We're gonna talk about the Super Bowl and everything that happened in it. Um. I kind of have a point where the Christian McCaffrey was used in the first half the whole time. Um,
Yeah,
but then the second half he wasn't really used at all. So
yeah. Except for that, like last drive,
right,
they were rolling with him, and then they just
they
stopped.
stopped using him. I didn't understand. Like you watch the very first drive. I mean he
Yeah,
ran all over. Obviously he fumbled the ball, but like he was unstoppable. I didn't
yeah. I mean,
I don't understand how they just go away from that.
yeah. I don't. I mean, you have the best running back in the NFL, and then you just don't use him.
Right.
It doesn't make any sense.
He had I think it was like 80 yards. And I'm pretty sure 50 or 60 of that came in the first half.
Yeah,
Um, and I mean, you had the lead. You have the lead, and you don't run the ball. That makes no sense to me.
yeah. That's the other thing. Is like you you just leave way more time on the clock for them to make a comeback
Right. And
and
playing
figure it
against
out.
a Tom Brady, you know, slash Mahomes team, um,
Yeah,
that's where you have to score a lot of points, or hold them to a lot less points. Like obviously, like the Eagles held them to what was it, like 20 points or something? I can't remember. Um,
uh,
but they scored a lot of points and scored more when they needed to. Like the 49ers
yeah,
stopped running the ball, and eventually they couldn't win. You know, um,
yeah,
so and they would get down to the 30-yard line, 40-yard line after they drive down on them, and they stop running the ball, and then they get holding penalties, and um, you know they kind of shot themselves in the foot for sure. Um,
yeah. Um,
and it gets a team like
and the one
yeah, go ahead.
one thing to mention is the holding penalties. Like the Chiefs haven't had a single holding penalty in the last three Super Bowls they've won.
Right. And
So I don't know. It's
I saw a thing where J.J. Watt
yeah,
was like, you obviously you're not going to get every call, um,
yeah,
but some of those are obvious, like the Nick Bosa one on the
yeah,
20-yard line or something. He
yeah.
That was definitely a hold by John Taylor, but yeah, zero holding calls in the Chiefs' last three Super Bowls that they won.
I
Um,
mean, that's 13 quarters of football
right.
and not a single holding.
And I mean, in all of the Super Bowls, obviously their offensive line was his best, especially the one that they lost. Um,
Yeah.
so you're gonna tell me that they haven't had a holding penalty, and like they haven't held the whole time? Um,
I mean, weren't they one of the like highest penalized teams in the league this year
yeah,
in terms of like holding?
I think so. Yeah. Um, and I think at least 49ers at least had three or four, and two of those were in crucial situations. They just got a first down, or they're in the other side of the field, they're about to score, and they get a holding penalty, or they fumble the ball. Obviously, that's a different thing, but besides
Yeah.
penalties, but yeah, I mean, they shot themselves in the foot. I mean, it's
Yeah.
crazy. Um,
Um,
so we're going to talk about Travis Kelce receptions record over Jerry Rice. Um,
Yeah.
it's
It's just insane.
right.
I mean, to do it like to set the record as a tight end is already impressive, but to do it in half the amount of time it took Jerry Rice.
Right.
Because I mean, Jerry Rice had 19 years to do it,
Hmm.
and Travis Kelce did it in 10.
Yeah.
It's just I don't know.
And you know, Travis Kelce played without Patrick Mahomes for the first couple years he was there. So
Yeah, like I think 4 years. Yeah.
now we'll get to this later. Obviously the goat talk, but I will say Travis Kelce is the best tight end I've ever seen. Maybe the greatest of all time in my opinion. He's like he's not like the traditional tight end. He doesn't block that much,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I wouldn't say
I
all around tight end. I would just say offensively the best tight end for sure.
yeah. Yeah. There's the argument there. I definitely do think the system benefits him a lot, and I
Right.
think he's on record of saying that.
Yeah.
So I would be curious to see like what Gronk could have done if he were in that system.
Yeah. I mean, you look at the stats between him and Gronk. Gronk has like 15 more touchdowns or something, or 12 more
Yeah,
touchdowns.
he's just
Obviously, Travis Kelce has a record, so he has most receptions. Um, but Gronk played less years. That you look at those, comparisons, you don't really see like I don't know how well they're used.
yeah,
But
because I mean it's just different systems.
right.
It's like there's one stat that you can't measure really.
Yeah.
Um,
Like a lot of times,
it's,
Travis Kelsey's hemmed up in the red zone. That's why he hasn't. A lot of his touchdowns are more than 20 yards, 15 yards, or
yeah,
like right at the goal line. It was tossing to him on an out route or something like that.
yeah,
Um,
or that little toss they do.
yeah, the shovel pass. Yeah.
Yeah,
So let's just go right into the next one. Mahomes versus Brady. I'm very passionate about this. The GOAT conversation. It's kind of like the LeBron and MJ. I think that MJ is the best, the best of all time. But now that if Braun, I don't think he will, but if he gets one more, he is definitely up there in my book, as the
yeah.
greatest of all time. But
I mean if Braun gets one more, I don't think you have any choice
right,
to say.
right. So that's kind of, and then we go into the Mahomes and Brady conversation. I think Mahomes is closer than LeBron to being the GOAT, to Jordan, to Tom Brady, right?
Yeah,
I mean, he only has 3 Super Bowls, but
yeah,
you look at I mean, he has to play that long. If he plays 20 years like Tom Brady did, obviously, I think it's going to hurt me to say this, but I think he'll win 10. I'm not even kidding. 50%. Um,
yeah.
but I don't
I
think
don't
he'll
know.
have that longevity.
I don't think he will either because it's it's starting to become more clear. Like Travis Kelsey's on his way out.
Right.
He's who knows how much longer he really has. Um, and I don't I don't know unless they draft an absolute stud tight end.
Yeah.
It's just I don't know.
Um, Also, like in the GOAT conversation, well, I have this thing that says stats at 28 years old. Tom Brady has 3 Super Bowl appearances. Patrick Mahomes has 4. Patrick Mahomes has 3 Super Bowl wins. Tom Brady has 2. Super Bowl MVPs, 3-2. NFL MVP, Patrick Mahomes has 2. Tom Brady had 0. Obviously, Tom Brady was on a better team. Like
Yeah,
defensively, he had a better team. When you
yeah,
think about after 28, he had the really good team, Randy Moss and all them, and their defense. Um, Now that I think it's easier to be the GOAT, um, when you someone's already been a GOAT. Someone can see the greatness.
yeah,
If that makes sense.
yeah,
So
yeah. Like you have something to work towards,
right.
like to
Um,
measure up against.
so, yeah. So it's easier to point. Okay, that's greatness. Like Tom Brady, when you're
Yeah,
28, they're like, oh, he's just really good. You know.
yeah,
So, um, but also like you talk about the head-to-head. I mean, It's like Michael Jordan playing LeBron James, and they lose twice, and
Hmm.
LeBron James lose twice to him. That's what happened with Mahomes. I don't think he will have to get 8 Super Bowls for him to be the GOAT because he lost twice to him. You know.
Yeah.
Now I wouldn't say that Patrick Mahomes is the worst quarterback or is the not the better quarterback. I would say that he is talent wise,
Yeah. Like
but
talent wise, yeah.
yeah. So, um, but that's my opinion. What's your opinion on that?
Yeah. It's Mahomes has a long way to go accolades wise to be for me to be the goat. I know it is it's tough to measure up right now since he's in the middle of his career, like he's
Right.
in his prime right now. Um, and I mean maybe like 10 years from now, there won't be Patrick Mahomes, and we'll just like be like we wouldn't like we won't really. I don't think we'll recognize how great he is until he's done.
Right.
Um, but I think yeah, out of anybody in the league, he's by far the closest.
Hmm.
I mean, maybe only other person's got a shot is like Joe Flacco.
Yeah. Um, I mean, like
But
like Brett said in the chat, he said, "Who was it before?" And I think obviously there was no one before that could have stood anywhere close. Okay, we look at someone else's like Joe Montana or Tom Brady. I mean, there's not even close. I think
yeah,
Patrick Mahomes is for sure the closest there's ever been to a true goat. I mean, Tom Brady is the true goat. Like 7 Super Bowls, 10 Super Bowl appearances. Um, you know, three or I think it's like 2 or 3 MVPs over his career. Um, so there wasn't anybody before him that I would say is the true goat. Um, so
yeah. I do think um, as the NFL is evolving, it is kind of becoming a lot easier for Patrick Mahomes.
uh
Um, just the like play styles.
yeah, it's definitely different.
Um, Because I mean, if the NFL wasn't so run heavy, like Brady's like first 10 years, I mean, imagine the
Yeah,
stats he would have put up. And Mahomes, he's got longer seasons now. He's
right,
got an extra game. He can, stat pad a little bit. So
right.
I think
It's
if
definitely gonna be
anybody,
it's definitely gonna be easier for him because he has
yeah,
an extra game, and and this year the scoring was lower, but obviously
yeah,
it's easier to score as an offensive player than now because of the rules, the rule changes,
yeah,
and everything. Like this year, the points overall over the league was lower, but
yeah,
you know it's easier to score when you can't get touched. Um,
yeah, yeah,
when the refs are kind of up in the air about what is a PI and what is a roughing the passer kind of thing. Um, so yeah, that's my 2 cents on that kind of thing. Um,
yeah,
all right, so moving on, let's talk about some basketball. I know this is your kind of thing, so
yes.
you can kind of go first on the trade deadline. It was kind of a I don't know boring trade deadline compared to the last years, but go ahead.
Yeah, it definitely was. There weren't any big names really. Um, I think it really was a lot of role players,
Right.
but there were a lot of good trades, and there were some questionable ones. Um, the first one I want to talk about is the Celtics and the Grizzlies. Xavier Tillman to the Celtics
Yep.
for Lamar Stevens and 2 second rounders. I love that. Um, especially because they weren't our second rounders, so it's like
Yeah. So it's free
that's
player
really
basically.
messed up. Yeah,
Right.
in Xavier Tillman's a dog. think like he'll bring a great um, physicality to the Celtics.
Uh-huh.
Um, so I really like that one. The Pistons made a lot of moves. Um, some of them were okay, like pointless, I think,
Yeah.
because it's like they're trading Kevin Knox, like, um, but they did trade Monte Morris to the to the Timberwolves for Troy Brown and Shake Milton, second round pick. I
That's a
think
good
that's
trade.
pretty, yeah. The Raptors, they traded um, Otto Porter Jr. and Kier Lewis Jr. in a first for Kelly Olynyk and Ochai Agbaji.
Right.
I like that. I
I
like
like
Ochai.
yeah, I like Ochai. I don't really know the point of the Olynyk, but Ochai is really good on
Yeah,
defense. So, but
I mean, I think Olynyk is just like he's Canadian, so it's like might as well bring him home.
right,
Um,
he's a good guy in the paint to play. But
yeah,
I
he
mean,
can stretch the floor a little bit too.
since those trades, it's the Pistons. We're talking about the not the Raptors, but the Pistons. Since those trades, they went 3-7 in the last 10 games. So
I mean,
that's better. They've won more
that's
games in
amazing.
those since the trade deadline than almost since they had started the season. So,
Yeah,
um,
that's man.
which is insane. But we talk about like the level of how good they are.
Yeah.
It's a little different.
And one trade I don't like is Gordon Hayward to the Thunder. I think
Oh, you didn't like that one?
the Hornets. I mean, I don't see that much value in Gordon Hayward for the Thunder because they gave up Trey Mann, and Davis Bertans.
Right.
I don't think, and two picks. Like it's, I feel like they gave up quite a bit. Um, and right now it's looking like the Hornets are winning that trade because the Hornets are, they're doing pretty well right now.
Yeah.
And then, oh, the Mavs
Yeah, that was a good.
trading Rashawn Holmes.
I thought
I
that was a great pickup.
Yeah,
But
I love that. I love that. Because Daniel Gafford's a great
yeah.
inside presence for them. Um, and then there was the Knicks trade with the Pistons for Bojan.
Yeah, I think that was a
Um,
great trade. I mean,
yeah.
that was the type of
Uh,
trade that's to put them as a contender. I wouldn't say like an actual winner, but
yeah. I don't like. I see people have them in their like top five in the East, and it's.
right.
I don't know. It's a little. They're a little sketch. I don't trust them completely.
Since then they've kind of went on a little losing streak. I know that Bogdan or Bohan. I keep saying Bogdan because it's the same thing.
Yeah.
But Bohan, he's only played 2 games and he's uh, averaged like 13 points or something. It's only 2 games, so 15 and 11 or
Yeah.
something. But since then they've lost 4 in a row.
Yeah.
Going from
Um.
22 and or 33 and 18 to 33 and 22 since the trade deadline. I think they just got to figure it out. It'll be fun. They'll be fine after that.
Yeah. They definitely got to work the chemistry out. 'Cause you can't expect a trade to just be smooth. Like you can't expect the team to just um, be running at full capacity after a trade,
Right. I
especially when it's involving key players.
Yeah, especially someone that demands the ball. Obviously he doesn't always get the ball. It's Bohan Bogdanovic, but he averages
Yeah.
like 20 points a game. He's going to be able to shoot the ball. Some people gotta change how they play and stuff. How many times
Yeah.
they get the ball, how many times they want the ball. Like Julius Randle, he's probably not going to get the ball as much as as he used to because of the backcourt. So.
Which I think that's a good thing. I mean,
Right.
Julius Randle like can't decide whether he wants to be like top 15 or bottom 30.
Yeah, he's. That's why I like the Bohan trade because it actually gives
Yeah.
you a steady point scorer. Over the last 5 years, he's scored 10 plus for
Yeah.
sure, and like the last 3 years, it was 20 plus or 19 plus or something. So,
Yeah.
and they also get
Um.
Alec Burks back. They all
Yeah.
Alec Burks as well. And they didn't give up very much. Ryan Archidiakono. Quentin
Quentin
Grimes.
Grimes
Quentin
and
Grimes is a good
Malachi
shooter.
Flynn.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Malachi Flynn. Those are like the only two um, assets I would say that they really had value.
Right.
Um,
And Evan
the
Evan
next,
Evan Fournier was given up too, but he didn't really play. He
yeah,
wanted to trade it. So.
yeah, he was done. I mean, I don't know why. Like, he just needs to go back overseas.
Right.
I think he'll enjoy that more.
Yeah.
The next trade I really like. It's PJ Washington to the Mavs for Grant Williams and Seth Curry.
I
I
like that
think
trade too.
I think that was a really good. Honestly, I think it was a fair trade
Yep.
for both teams. But I like PJ Washington. I think he fits well with the Mavs. He kind of reminds me of Christian Wood, but he plays a little bit more defense.
Yeah.
Um, so I think that really helped the Mavs. I think move up as a contender for me.
Mhm.
Um,
Like right now, they're ranked seventh or something in the Western Conference. I mean,
yeah,
it's since those trades, and they haven't lost. So,
yeah.
he hasn't. I mean,
Um,
PJ Washington isn't a scoring threat on that team with Luka but he
yeah,
does
it's
rebound and play defense. So, so
yeah,
does Daniel Gafford. Gafford is, he's there for defense off the bench. So,
yeah,
I do think they got significantly better from that trade. So,
yeah. And there was the Suns, Grizzlies, Nets had a three-way trade. Um, Suns received Royce O'Neal and David Roddy. Uh, I think Royce O'Neal, great pickup.
yeah,
Um, they gave up quite a bit though. They gave up Chimezi Metu and Yuta Watanabe and Keita Bates Diop and Jordan Goodwin. No idea who that is honestly. And three future second round picks.
right.
I don't know. It depends on the picks, but for David Roddy and Royce O'Neal, it's just a lot. I don't know.
Like I see why they're doing it. Trying to expand their backcourt and off the bench.
Yeah,
And some guys I could score off the bench. David Roddy could score off the bench or rebound. Play defense.
yeah,
Because they didn't have very much depth before then. So I
yeah,
understand changing four decently and pick four decent players and picks for like an actual backcourt. I mean, I see that, but
yeah,
like I don't. I think like they could have gotten someone else. But
yeah. I mean, for that, just for the amount they gave up, I definitely do think they could have gotten someone of a higher caliber.
right, at least someone that can come off the bench and actually help, like a six-man type. I think they could have got someone like that.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Um, let's see
I
this one.
and I for my biggest ups, I actually put the Thunder trade, the Gordon Hayward trade. I know that
Really?
you put it on your lows. Trey Mann is a Florida guy. I like him.
Yeah.
Um, but I thought, you know, they have so many picks. I mean, really,
That is true.
they only gave up three players. Davis Bertans was good in Washington when he got the
Yeah.
ball. But there's a lot of different. They knew that there's a lot of players that they don't need. You know,
Yeah, they don't
they already
use.
have a bunch of stretch fours. They have Chet and
Yeah, that's
um,
true.
so Gordon Hayward's more of a vet presence, I think. So I like. I mean, he could score from the three position, and that's where they kind of don't have. Um,
Hmm.
besides Williams or so. Someone I think he's gonna come off the bench. I mean, that's where I would put him.
Yeah,
But
I would imagine.
um, so that's why I put him on their ups. But
I mean, yeah, I could see I could see that argument. He does bring a great veteran presence, and he'll be able to help that young team out quite a bit. I think that is the one thing that's been holding them back
Right.
from being actual contenders. Is just experience. So, in that sense, it makes sense. Um,
I know
and
I put on for my losers I put the Buddy Hield trade when the
yeah,
Philadelphia 76ers got Buddy Hield. Pacers gave up or Pacers got Furkan Korkmaz, Doug McDermott from the Spurs. Um,
hmm
I'm not really sure why they did that. You know, I could see why they got a bunch of second round picks in cash. Um,
yeah.
but I know
I
why the
mean,
76ers did that. They won that trade, I think.
yeah,
But
yeah. I mean,
Pacers really didn't get
he's
anything
made.
for that.
I mean, Buddy's made an impact like instantly,
Right.
especially with Embiid being out. I think he really does fulfill like that offensive need.
Yeah.
Um, so and like I was watching. Oh, who were they playing? I think. Oh, dang, I don't remember who they were playing, but I was watching. Like Buddy Hield was just. It might have been the Celtics, but Buddy Hield was just taking over.
Right. Obviously,
Um,
without Joel Embiid, it's going to be hard to like match that offensive uh,
mhm.
caliber that they had. Um, but you know, like the last 10 of the games they went 3-7. I don't think they win two of those games without Buddy Hield. You know, so
Yeah, yeah. It
uh,
was the Cavs. That's who it was.
yeah, and they, um, you know, he had 24 points in that game, so
Yeah,
that's all of Joel Embiid would have probably scored 30. So that kind of matches
yeah,
that. So I do think that's a good trade for
yeah,
them.
yeah. Um,
So yeah,
and then the rest of the trades wasn't really a whole lot. I know the Celtics got Jaden Springer for a second round pick and Delano Benton.
hmm
Like, I mean, I think Jaden Springer's got more upside than Delano Benton.
right.
Um, but
I
not
mean, it
really
just
much.
yeah, just not a lot of crazy trades. Not a lot James Harden or anything like that this time.
Yeah,
Um, but
I mean,
I do think based off the trade deadline, it does show that NBA teams aren't looking for you know big threes anymore. I mean, or they already have them
mhm,
and they're just looking to build off
yeah,
their depth because they don't have any because they have to sign all these players. Um,
yeah,
so obviously you can see that in the trade deadline. They the players that usually are moved like James Harden, Travis or I about to say Travis Kelce, James Harden, Kyrie Irving, um, those types of players that big players that would like to move Kevin Durant. Um,
yeah. Those instances are where like the players are kind of trying to force their way out.
yeah, and there wasn't that very much of that this trade deadline. So
Yeah,
oh,
I think.
and we could talk about the big what would have happened if the Warriors actually traded for LeBron James. You know
Yeah,
that
it would. I mean, it would have brought them to. I mean, we can say it would have brought them to being actual contenders, but I mean, we don't know what all they would have had to give up
I think
in
they would
order
have at
to
least give up
actually
Clay
sign
Thompson.
LeBron.
At least give up take Clay Thompson. Um,
Yeah.
they have a lot of depth and they have a lot of good players on the bench. So, but
Yeah, I mean, they do have a lot of good young guys
right,
um, that do want out, who aren't happy in Golden State. So I think um, there is. I think they would have had to given up Wiggins too,
right, for
which
sure.
I mean, you're pretty much just upgrading from Andrew Wiggins to LeBron.
Yeah,
Uh,
and Clay Thompson. You give up Clay Thompson. Obviously, he scored like 35 last night, but
yeah,
he's like the best player once a month. On the team.
yeah,
So
yeah,
Clay Thompson and Andrew Wiggins for LeBron James. And, I mean, even if he's 39, he's still 25 points a game. Still
yeah,
facilitates. And then when they get Chris Paul back, that the offense is going to be running so smooth. So,
Yeah. Um, but I think everybody kind of knew that wasn't actually going to happen.
yeah, it's kind
I
of
mean,
I don't think they could pay that many people on their team, so they have to give up a lot
well,
for
I
that.
mean, the Warriors don't care because the thing about the Warriors is they're not owned by like three people. They're owned by um, several like they're owned. I think they're pretty much owned by like an investment.
Yeah,
So they're able to raise an insane amount of capital because like I'm pretty sure after this year they're gonna have to pay like 500 million in luxury tax,
uh-huh.
and they just don't care. Like they're willing to take on that um cost
Right, because
as
they're
long as
worth
they're winning.
aren't they worth the most in the NBA? Like, they're the
Yeah,
most expensive team,
yeah.
right? So,
Um, which I mean, they do bring in a lot of money.
yeah,
So, but still being like 500 million in luxury tax. I mean, that's like 5 max contracts now.
yeah.
That's insane. Um, so
So,
it would have been probably the craziest move ever.
right.
Um,
I don't think it would have ever happened though, for sure.
no,
But
it wasn't realistic.
yeah,
Um, plus, I think LeBron would have just been like, I'm not
yeah.
going all the way up to Oakland.
I think LeBron said no,
Just
and
go.
the Lakers said no, but LeBron was like, no, I don't need to do that. So
Yeah, especially like since Bronny's at USC, he's gonna want to
stay in LA.
be in LA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So moving on to baseball. I know that me and you don't really talk about baseball, so it's a really small segment because um,
Yeah.
we're not really baseball enthusiasts of the MLB. I'm a Cardinals fan, but I don't really pay attention to anything else. So basically, the
Yeah.
only thing I put on there was Rob Manfred stepping down. He runs the MLB, obviously. He's been followed by a lot of controversy. Um,
Yeah.
especially, I think MLB baseball needs a salary cap, just like the NBA, because
Mhm.
you can't have like it's so unfair. It's like, imagine if the NBA didn't have it and they could just the Golden State Warriors, the most expensive team we just talked about, signed LeBron James. 2012 LeBron James, Stephen Curry,
Yeah.
Michael Jordan. They could just sign a bunch of players because they have
Mhm.
500 million in extra money that they could just pay off their luxury tax. So
Yeah.
um, that was the one thing that it might change because Rob Manfred is stepping down, which is great because I don't see how they could do it now that they signed all these players to millions and millions of dollars of contracts. But with
Yeah.
Shohei
It's
Ohtani,
something that.
it'll be a talked about thing, obviously,
Yeah.
with the
Yep.
CBA or whatever they have in MLB. Um, but also, one of his biggest, he was he just went from controversy to controversy. I think he started in 2014, and his first thing was to make the game faster, which um, the first controversy he made it longer. So the first 4 years he was there as the actual commissioner, it made it longer. These past 2 years, obviously got shorter by about like 30 minutes or something with the new
Yeah. With
rules.
the pitch clock.
Yeah, with the new actual pitch clock, which should how you gonna fix a game, you shorten how much time they can stand there.
Yeah.
But I feel like that was pretty obvious. Um, but also how he just went to the next one, and I think it was 2018 is when or 2020 when the Astros were cheating. They just didn't do anything. He didn't do anything. Um,
Yeah.
he lost a lot of respect for that. That decision to not even. He didn't even give any suspensions to any players, managers. I mean, obviously the manager did, but he just got fired.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
he was gonna get fired anyways. No player or no cash drop, no cash take, no fines.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
they said that he got hit with a $5 million fine, but that was that's not that much to the Astros, especially when there's no
No.
salary. There's no salary cap,
Yeah.
So they could just keep all that money for extra money. That $5 million is
Yeah.
not that much. That's I don't know, 5 games or something. So, um,
Yeah.
it says they lost 4 draft picks. I think that it should have been almost, which might sound crazy, almost a Buchanan draft, like, in the next draft.
Honestly, yeah. Because I mean, you're cheating in the biggest series
Right.
of the entire season. Like it's.
Right.
I mean,
Um,
what does that show? Like everybody, like all the MLB fans, like it just doesn't matter.
yeah.
Like
And
anybody can just do whatever they want.
those players that were obviously, like, there's evidence that they were beating on trash cans. Those players that were doing
Yeah.
that should have gotten should have got fined or suspended, or I mean, that's probably all they could do to a player, but that was legal.
Yeah.
But there was nothing. They didn't do anything to specific people. They took away opportunities for other players to legally, not cheating, to win a World Series, like Cody Bellinger and like even Mike Trout. I think that how he handled that, I'm glad that he's not in there anymore, because maybe they'll get someone like Adam Silver that does everything, expands the game,
Yeah.
keeps the game short, like Rob Manfred did a good job the last 2 years. I will give him that, keeping the game short, but also expanding the game to more, more people, and
Yeah.
making it more interesting.
Yeah.
So, and not cheating, because Rob Manfred even had another controversy where he was changing the baseballs so you could get more home runs. It's not really, that's not really the point of baseball. That's not how I would attack it.
Yeah.
But
I mean, my only opinion is bring the steroids back.
that's I want to see
Let
that.
the guys juice up. Let the guys juice up. Just.
I think that would be a great idea. Just let's have MLB, loyally MLB, and then let's do the SMLB. The
Yeah.
steroid Major League Baseball, where they just do roids and they hit 90, 100.
Or even like just the minor leagues.
Yeah, just get them roided up and
Nobody
then.
cares.
Right. I would watch that. I'm just gonna be honest.
That's how you boost. That's how you boost your audience. That's how you bring
just
in the viewers.
jacked people that hit 900 home runs a year.
Yeah.
So, all right.
More
So
guys like Billy Butler. More big guys.
all right. So, moving on back to football. But I'm going to talk about the Bears offseason, what they should do, and then you'll talk about, obviously, his team is the Seahawks, so you'll talk about his team and everything that they need to do. So, Bears, I put Fields or Caleb. Obviously, I'm a Fields fan. I have his jersey. I think that it's a third-year start. He's a third-year player. I think he should get another chance, especially with Marvin Harrison, who they should draft.
Yeah.
And then a Latu, or whatever you say his name, at the D end. They could put him with Montez Sweat. Their defense gets exponentially better with those two players. And the last 8 games of the season, I think they went 6-2. I mean, for a team that was 3 and 11, to end with whatever it was now, I think that shows that the defense is with Montez Sweat is good. And with Justin Fields at quarterback is good. There's no need to restart. We just need another weapon at the wide receiver position. Also, I have on here is talking about the people that I would pick. What would I would do with the first pick? I would trade back to the third pick with or the second pick with the Commanders. Try to get another second round pick, and maybe a player, maybe like a corner or someone like that. Someone that we need, or a defensive lineman, like an interior guy. But or even the Giants, they have a bunch of interior. They have good D line. Trade back to get someone that we need, and also get Marvin Harrison, because you could. Those first 3 teams are gonna, or the 3 teams behind us are gonna pick a quarterback. So They're not going to take anybody. They're not going to take Marvin Harrison because they can't take him because they have to have a quarterback to throw to him.
Yeah.
And we do. Also
Yeah.
on the other side, Justin Fields. I've seen things that you get a second round and a fourth round pick for him. I'm like, which is kind of tough to think about because how good is Caleb Williams about to be? I don't think he's going to be exceedingly better than Justin Fields going to be. I have a bad
Not in that system.
right. I just have a bad feeling. I mean they got a new OC, so it's going to be a little bit different, but it's the Bears, like they're going to get a guy that's going to run the ball. You know, that's usually how that goes, and they're not going to get a Andy Reid or a someone like that.
Yeah.
So I wish that they would trade the first pick, and go back 2 spots, pick Marvin Harrison, get a second round, get another, and then the ninth pick, they're gonna get Latu as a D end, the second D end. He's really good from UCLA, and then obviously they're gonna have 2 second round picks or 3, I think. One from the Carolina, one from their own, and if they get another one from the Giants or whoever they trade back with, that's 3 players that they get, another safety, an interior D lineman, and an O lineman. I think that's a team that you could win playoff games with in 2 years. So that's my idea of how the Bears should go about it. I've seen reports that they're not going to do that. They're going to get Caleb Williams, which I think is silly.
Yeah.
But I've also seen reports that they're going to keep both of them, which is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. But I think that was more like a podcast thing, talk about it and get clicks. But yeah. So I think that's how the Bears should go about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think you got to give Fields a chance because he's had new OC, new head coach. Like, he hasn't been able to settle into a system really.
Yep.
But onto the Seahawks. Obviously, Pete Carroll's gone. They've made a lot of. They got Mike McDonald. I think that's a really good pick. I think he's going to be able to really mold the young Seattle defense into something special. Especially, like, you look at last year, the run defense was awful.
Mm-hmm.
I do think in this upcoming draft, they only have 7 picks. And their first round pick is number 16. So they're not. I mean, there's some value there. I don't know who's on the mock drafts, who's on the draft boards for people.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know realistically who they have a chance of getting. And they don't have their second round pick because of the Leonard Williams trade.
Right.
But I think they definitely do need to probably. I mean, I want to say interior D line, but honestly, their interior D linemen aren't terrible.
Yep.
I think it's kind of just, Pete Carroll's not that great of a defensive coach. But I think one thing they need to figure out is the quarterback situation.
You think someone in the draft could say that, like J.J. McCarthy or someone like that, or?
I think at this point you might as well experiment.
Right. I think he's worth like a third round pick or a second round pick, so I don't think that would be a terrible decision. But
no, I think it's becoming more clear Gino's not going to be the guy
to win a Super Bowl for sure. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's, and it sucks because now they've just wasted. If they do draft a quarterback, they pretty much just wasted $12 million.
Yeah.
In cap space on him. But I think offensively, we've got one of the best running backs in the league. If we can keep him healthy, K9 is gonna be
Right.
just an animal.
He's so good. He's gonna be so good.
The receivers are like they have one of the best receiving corps talent-wise in the league. I think DK needs to get his head right. He's kind of turning into Draymond out there.
A little bit.
Just getting into fights for no reason. But Tyler Lockett, dog. Jason's got so much potential.
I think they gotta throw the ball at Jason a little bit more. I mean,
yeah.
they started doing it towards the end of the year, but he was kind of like a decoy almost. Not really a decoy, but
yeah, it definitely was. They didn't really use him at all. But I think that Dallas game, that's really when he like kind of had his breakthrough, because he had a couple big plays. Honestly, I'd be open to the potential of trading DK.
What do you think he's worth? Like a third or a second? Probably a second.
Probably yeah. I'd say a second. And that's where we can get a quarterback. I don't know. It's but I do think I do kind of like the changes or the additions they've made on the coaching staff. Bringing in their new OCs from Washington.
Right.
I like that. Their new DCs from Dallas. Which I mean Dallas's defense last year.
That's great.
Insane. So.
And with that Washington pickup, especially for the fantasy people watching or listening, they're gonna throw the ball a lot. So.
Yeah.
Obviously they have the best running back on. They have a really good running back, so they're gonna run the ball, but they're not gonna. It's a Washington, like they're gonna throw the ball a bit more. So it'd be a good offense. Maybe JSN gets a little bit more fantasy points this year. So.
Yeah. And then they picked up Jay Harbaugh.
Yeah. Special teams. Yeah.
I just now saw his face for the first time. Looks absolutely nothing like his dad.
Yeah, I'm guessing his mom is redheaded or something, but yeah.
Yeah. I was like, there's no way that's his son.
Yeah.
It's just weird because you see him and his brother, they look exactly the same. So
right.
You'd expect his son to
kind of
look somewhat like him.
Right.
Yeah. But
all right.
I think. Yeah.
Go ahead.
I think Seattle's. As much as I hate to say it, I think we've got another year of mediocrity in Seattle. At least one.
Right.
And then maybe 2 years from now they'll have something figured out.
Maybe make some big moves or something. So.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's about all we have today. So this podcast is going to be like every Friday, probably around in the morning like this. I'm going to continue to stream on Twitch at Mackie4K on Twitch. Follow us on Twitter at Unscripted Takes. Has a little green emblem as our emblem. Also listen on Spotify, Unscripted Sports Takes. It should be up today at the end of the day. So, yeah, I'm going to end the stream and it'll be good.
Let's go.